What is up, YouTube? This is Fortress Striker. Today, coming to another episode of the DBS podcast. And today will be another two-man power trip episode with your boy, the Fortress Striker, and of course, your boy, Yeovani.
What's up, Kevin?
I'm doing good, Gio. It's great to have you back once again for another week here at the DBS podcast. And today, we finally got what we needed, and that is not just one, but two of the secret rares out of the three. For those who don't know, we will be getting the third secret rare sometime, possibly next week, where we're going to have the secret rare to be the color red, as it now being revealed in the DBS podcast.
Well,
not podcast, more like the DBS Super Card Game site on Facebook.
well, I mean, this Shenron's a shop tournament promo. We still haven't seen the Goatings, what it looks to be a Goatings secret rare.
So more like some people have seen it, but they have yet to see the whole thing.
Yes, exactly. This Shenron is just like you go whenever they announce the shop tournaments, and you get it as an entry, and then they have, if you do really well and you're like a winner, quote unquote, I think that's for like top whatever, you get a winner version of the Shenron.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the secret rare. So first things first, what we have here, guys, is the Gogeta, and this card is just unfucking believable. Although it's very unclear to tell what's his full name. It just says Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta blank fusion. Sorry if I can't get the full name, guys, because this image here is very difficult to get. So I'll go ahead and read it. So it's an ultimate triple strike permanent. You can play battle cards. This card can't be removed from your battle area by skills, and you can combo with cards in your battle area. Activate main by paying 5 energy. If all your energy is the same color, play this card from your hand, draw 2 cards, switch up to 2 of your energies to activate them. Then your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand and 2 of their battle cards and sends them to their owner's warp.
So, tell me, we were hyped for SS4 Gogeta. Did it live up to the hype for you?
100% actually. This is a card I thought was going to be meh, but again, black dominates the secret rare, just like they do with the structured decks, just like they do in the meta. They've been dominating so much. This card may have a restriction to not do whatever, but it doesn't matter because it's good, not just for main black decks, of course, but for since it's a black card, you could use it for any deck, so this card will go high on the price. Its second effect is just really busted, especially when you could just pay 5 energy as long as it's all monocolors. So no more multicolors, no more 2 sets of colors. You actually just got to stick with the whole 1 color. And once you do that, you just straight up play this card and then just damage your opponent's field in hand. It just basically does everything, and it has triple strike, so you can do triple attacks triple damage to hurt your opponent, pay for late game or whatever, or as long as the game goes on. Really great. I'm really glad to see this card coming in, and I just don't know what to say. And then good luck in going against this card.
This card's ridiculous. Not only can you summon him basically in the reboot Soul Striker for 1, but in the new SS3 he's basically almost free. Like, this card is absolutely insane, and there's some people out there that think it's just what, it's okay, it's mediocre, and I'm just looking at them what? I get it doesn't have barrier, deflect, it doesn't have, it doesn't have the greatest key, but you can't hold Bloodlust this card because it's an activate main, just like the baby Janemba. This card, Frost Deadly Poison's the only card that really could hit this card. And this card is just insane. And even if you're not playing a blue deck, this card turns out to be a 3-drop because you untap 2 mana. So even if you're going for a game with the card, you still get energy back to combo with to kind of close out the game. It just does it all, man. I'm really impressed. Well, I mean, really impressed with what it does, but I'm not surprised that Bandai made another crazy secret that's black, actually. So.
That's true. And in comparison to the other black secret rares we have, which is the black Dragon Balls, the black Dark Shenron, and of course the Demigra, those are the best. But I think in comparison, I say, basically, if we ignore the Dragon Balls and the Dragon, Demigra and Gogeta SS4 is by far like the best Black Secret Rares. Oh, and there's also the Majin Buu. I don't want to forget that one. Like Majin Buu is number 3. This card is in a battle between with this card and Demigra. It's really tough to say which is you think will go first. Like in between the two of them as the best Black Secret Rare. It's really tough because here we have a card that can hurt your opponent's field in hand. And it's a 5-drop summon, while you have Demigra, who actually takes your opponent's cards and uses them to combo for game. You know, and it's a really tough one because of how both cards are very effective in the format. And you can still play Demigra even in this meta too, because hell, even in Vegeks, it's even busted. Because since it was part of the Overwhelm set, and I know for the fact both of these are just so stupid. Like, whoever owns a Demigra is like by far you should be happy what you have, because I'm surprised that card has yet to go up in price for now. But now with this card's release, my prediction here, Gio, is that this card and Demigra will be played in Vegeks sometime maybe, and they are so gonna pretty much mess up everything in the game.
I mean, I've seen some people try to play the Demigra, but this Gogeta only. Like if Vegeks needed another card for the deck, like. This is absolute. It's just like it's incredible. I mean, but later on in this podcast, we're gonna talk about that whole deck, and I get a lot of people are crying and complaining right now, but I kind of wish people would start metagaming for the deck than just calling for bans, But that's neither here or there. Like Bandai is doing their part and giving these starter decks really good cards.
Exactly. That's pretty much, we'll get to that point later. And now we're going to go to the second, and now we're going to repeat, second secret rare for yellow. We don't count multicolors, that's a different story. Multicolors are their own thing. This is actually legit, guys, their second secret rare for yellow. And we haven't seen that since it's a promo too. That's actually a very first time in history in the game. So it's a double whammy. So let's go ahead and see it. It's called Sin Shenron Negative Energy Incarnate. Ultimate Deflect Blocker. Permanent, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1 for each card in your drop area with an energy cost of 1. This card in your drop area with an energy... Sorry, if this card can't be removed from your battle area by your opponent's skill. When you activate this card's blocker skill, switch this to active mode and it gets minus 5,000 power for the turn. Sorry if I did sound a little oddly there.
No, this card has a lot of decks, I don't blame you.
But like, yeah, because I guess you get a little excited, you can't read these texts well. But okay, so I'll go and give my chance on this one. So I like this card pretty much the fact that you get to go ahead and summon it mostly for free for every amount of 1-drops you have. Now, yes, the deck itself does run a lot of 1-drops because of the Dark Dragon Balls and Sin Shenron, that other Green Dragon card, because I'm sorry, I'm not really familiar with GT all the time. Sorry, Alex, sorry, Noah. But, you play this in a lot of good 1-drop decks, especially like Frieza, and you can, you didn't. Well, here's the best part: it doesn't have a color restriction. It just requires you to have 1 energy as the amount you have in your drop area. So you can actually play this in your Golden Frieza decks if you play like the green and yellow variants, and you can play this card because with all the new support you get from the green Frieza cards, that doesn't require to have a green Frieza whatever, and you have so many 1-drops there, you can use this card to play anything. Or if you play the green leader and you just play like the yellow card variants, so like the low support, however you guys want, it's fine. This card is really good. It's always going to end up becoming a free 35,000 power blocker. And what I like about this card, its auto effect, it doesn't actually be once per turn. This auto effect is as many times you want until it's no more. So you can block the hell out of it for the turn. And so that means you have it until the end of the turn, and then it goes back to 35,000 power, I guess. So it's really good, and of course you can't negate this because it has deflect, so you cannot touch this card at all. It gave it deflect. It gave it deflect. You cannot touch this card, period. You're already pretty much gave yourself the winning chance already, and it's really good. It's not just for Frieza, you know, or Shinron. It's for most decks that do have a couple of 1-drops in most other decks, you know, even in other colors too. So both the Shinron and the Gogeta already made the game itself very eloquent without having certain color restrictions. Well, besides Gogeta's the fact that you have to have the same color. I mean, I admit that that's a little faulty there, but still, it's very effective to most other decks. And it's really excellent to see how these cards well. And they're both free drops depending on the amount you're paying. But of course, if I had to say which had the better summoning, it's the Shinron because of that condition it has. And of course, Gogeta has the better effect, but they're both amazing, so I can't argue with that. I would say that you did mention earlier that yeah, the Gogeta did have no barriers or anything, so it does kind of put itself in a focal point. So, and it could end up basically getting negated if you wanted to, but who knows. But this one, unlike Shinron, you know, it deflects, it's a blocker, it stops your opponent from doing anything. Again, yellow did everything what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be the ultimate troll, and therefore this card is by far the best secret for yellow, and of course way better than Goku Jr. Of course, because in comparison, but that's
remember Goku Jr.
But that's just something stupid to say. So this is by far one of the best secretisms. I say in the top 10 already because of its brutal effect. So I suggest you start getting this card as well, guys, because don't just stop on Gogeta. Get this card too. It's a really good main for most other decks that do require a lot, and it's a free summon, so you don't have to pay a lot of energy.
I mean, the Shadow Dragon deck got another good blocker, another good card for the deck. So it's an easy just insert because it's just a one-off. Yeah, I mean that deck is just getting a lot of blockers. It's just really slow, grindy, trying to control tempo, trying to grind you out. So it really goes with the theme, man. Yeah, it's really good.
That's all I have to say. And we'll hope to see the next Secret Rare the next time. So now, let's go ahead and start our discussion here. So let's go ahead and see what we're talking about. So today, I actually was thinking, before we get to the discussion about Vegeks and everything, let's talk about side decks. This just came to me about a week ago, and I thought of this idea because we never got a chance to talk about what's the side deck in today's format. So right now, with all the structured decks being released, a lot of people are already starting to make a lot of great decks, including for Noel, who you recently told me just won his first place championship in this store in Utah with a special deck with Vegeks that people never thought. And
oh yeah, he went undefeated at his locals with Vegeks. Ooh. Like, I mean, they gave him a round loss for being late when usually they give other people wins. But I guess that's just like the Vegeks hate, and it also goes sequenced to what we're gonna talk about. But yeah, it's not like the standard Sandy list. Shout out to Sandy Cater, you know, my buddy there.
Check out the first episode.
Oh, of course, and it's not like the Kitku version, the Brid Raid version. So it was a different take, and everybody was like, they all stopped their games and started watching him play, and it was really cool to see that they all got excited for a deck that people are just not liking at the moment. But yeah, it was interesting.
So anyway, so to the discussion of the side decks, I do want to discuss about what cards we are going to put in to stop almost decks. Now, a lot of people are expecting, okay, because mostly it's the meta, of course we gotta find cards to stop Vegeks. Now that's an easy thing to talk about, but however, I actually have something I never told you, and I want to trick you in this question. See, people want to know what to side against Vegeks or other decks like Invoker and Gohan and all that stuff. But my question for you is, what can Vegeks side against other decks? Because no one ever thought about the question what they side besides the mirror matches. See, that's a good question. That's a question I want people to understand that. So let's go with that question. So what do you think Vegeks can side in certain decks that would be meta that we have discussed about a week ago, but what's currently in the meta today, and what will be in the meta when the set is officially released when all the cards are out?
Alright, so I'm just gonna say, you're saying what's meta. As of what we know right now, we know that Vegeks is in his own tier, supposedly, and then we know Green Goku, Green Frieza, Gohan, Invoker, are the next wave of decks. And maybe Hatchiyak. There's some people. Topo is another deck people are saying a lot of. The blue decks, I'll just pick Vegito and Reboot Soul Striker because those are the two I've seen the most. So now, for each of these decks, it's very interesting. What would you side, huh? Well, I mean, against Amir and Green Frieza, you're gonna side the Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan because that is probably one of the best, one of the good answers. Even though that Vegeks can, with Splintering Mind, warp it away, or Crisis Crusher pop it. It's a really good tool to stall the game for Vegeks to make them answer the card. And against Green Frieza, the Dodoria coming and looping, it's just the Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan stops that, so they have to pop that card as well. Just really, I mean, even that card is good against Hatchiyak too. Like that's like a really good generic card. And Cell Surge, if people are playing that, like that's one card that hits so many decks and stuff like that. So that's one example. That's one card that probably will be in everybody's sideboard. Kevin, what do you think?
You know, it's really tough because we have to remember like how different that Black 8 was back in set 3 it is to like what we have right now in set 10. And I remember
set 3 was a completely different game.
It was a really complete game, yeah. It's like compared to like what we have right now, it's Overrun was taken to the newest level. And it's really tough to say which cards there is. I mean, we do know that that card that we discussed a few weeks back, you know, the one that's going to go up in price, and it's going to be obviously a huge main sideboard, of course, in most decks against the Prohibition one.
Prohibition, yes. I was going to talk about that, but I'll let you talk about it first since you mentioned it.
We talked about this, why this was like the best black card, of course, and it's actually my favorite black card in the set because of the way how it nulls and voids everything that your opponent can do. It prevents you to play any specific cards or any text that can resolve. And of course, it does require that specific text, like it was like the Prohibition from Yu-Gi-Oh! But it's supposed to be the Prohibition. It's supposed to tell you you can't play this because we're trying to tell you to stop being a dick, stop trying to do all this stuff you need to do in this format and everything you're doing in the match so that we can have a chance to play the game. Or what we're supposed to do is stop you so that we can dominate this game and dominate you and basically make you cry and whatever. Just like how Noel did in Utah, that's for example. But that's like a great side deck card that Vegeks can use because in mirror matches you have to be extra careful, and it also depends on who goes first. Because I notice a lot in this game, if you don't really go first in this game, you actually already lost. And I've been there before, so it's actually really, it's really a big thing. Because it's different than you play in any other card game. It's not like Yu-Gi-Oh! You go second, you got this because you're going to attack. No.
I mean, going second you can evenly match, or if you're playing like Dinos, Mermails, going second you can OTK, like
exactly.
Chances.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
But like in Dragon Ball, you have when in a mirror match, this is a serious thing. It doesn't matter if you have the same type of cards in the deck, or you play different way. It doesn't matter. If this is your leader and this is how the deck is gonna run, whoever goes first, that's it. That's the game change because they have the advantage. They know what to do the next turn. And they're gonna see your strategy ahead of you. So, and unless you have a hand that can help you to win, maybe turn 2 or 3 or whatever, that's not gonna. You're gonna lose already. And that card is gonna be the biggest death thing in the game, especially now with Gogeta coming out as well. Hell, you can actually have enough energy to save for the Prohibition just to stop your opponent if you want in any desperate way, so you can actually OTK for game, however way possible. Of course, because
I mean, and you know, it's funny because you mentioned that Meki Kaburo has, I think he has Deflect, which is insane. But what makes it so good in Vegeks is the sideboard. If you play Secret Technique Pepperoni, you could warp the Meki Kaburo and get an extra swing with Pepperoni. Like, it just works well with the theme that deck is trying to do.
Exactly.
So
That's so
like
effective.
it's going to become a very important side deck card because it hits like it's the one card in this game. It's a very unique card because it hits cards like, let's say, oh, I don't have a sideboard option. Oh well, I could use Meki Kubora and I could call this, and that would probably be my only out to this card. So it gives you flexibility and kind of an insurance policy to hit that exact thing you're targeting.
That's very much all there is. Now, for another card that we have to sync, you mentioned Goku earlier, and I noticed for a fact when you talked about Goku a week ago being the second best after Vegeks, I'm really surprised that, yeah, you, of course, like the genius, you called it, because I noticed 3XG posted a video about his version of the Green Goku from Set 10, and he did a video about it, and now it's already becoming one of the top decks like you called, because you knew whatever you say will come true, like I do. Like sometimes when I predict, and even though people don't believe it, it ends up being true, and even I'm stunned myself to say, haha, I called it. But you called it there, and now I see I'm not really familiar much with the deck, so I'm gonna let you have this one to see what can you do to counter against that deck, just in case Vegeks has trouble with it.
Well, it's funny because I ended up playing in a lobby with Richard Zapp, the guy that's pretty much him, and I think Matthew Combs, I think, are like I mean, they all work together, but I think those two have been working on the brew a lot. And I played Vegeks against him, and he and I won. We only played one game, and he took my board out both times. But on my turn 3, I killed him, and it was like he got me down to 3, but he couldn't just kill me, you know. And I think the problem in that matchup is if you use Goku's effect to take your 2 lives to clear the board, you're more vulnerable for Vegeks on the crackback to kill you, and it's a very that matchup is very it feels like a very patient matchup. Excuse me. It feels like you have to play patiently, not give them too many cards, because like I was just playing. I was playing the Vegeks Boo list. Wait, was it? No, I was actually playing Sandy's list that time. And I was just playing patient because I didn't draw the Overwhelm Trunks turn 1 or turn 2, so I was just playing patient and getting the cards that were given to me, and I still managed to win. I mean, but it was super close because if I didn't even get the Vegeta reinforcements, it was not looking good. It's basically a deck, Kevin. Let me put it to you like this: imagine a deck that has hand control and board control both in the same deck. So what I mean by hand control, it plays the Bardock Unison, it plays Dispo, it plays like 1-drops, it plays the Vegeta super combo that if you play it, discard one. So they have ways to discard your hand. It has the Rebri and Ape, so it has a lot of ways to make you discard. And then what I mean by board control, the leader, you take 2 life and it nukes a board ignoring barrier. So like it just wants to assume control of the game in all different multifaceted ways, basically.
Okay, so that's how that works. Okay, I agree. Because I think a lot of the thing with when Sandy read it, he just didn't like how that resolved when it said, "I didn't like how it takes 2 cards in your life and it just does all that just to blast it." But I guess it's because for Sandy, he didn't know how it worked until later on when someone else played it, and then when that resolved, that actually changed the game. So if we ever speak to Sandy, let me know next time, maybe on the podcast. Let me know the info. Does he think this deck is still bad as he thought it was in the first episode, or does he change his mind and see like it's actually not bad, or maybe he might have a little trouble with it?
Kind of interestingly, he's playing the Frieza starter deck leader now, along with Vegeks, because he's still trying to perfect that.
So
he took a break from playing Vegeks, but he's playing Frieza now.
So he is continuing the game. That's pretty good.
Well, in a sense, like play testing, because he likes deck building and maybe playing a couple of locals, but like traveling and all that, we'll have to see.
That's yeah. That like Well, that depends if we could travel, but well, yeah, I get what your point is. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So we got that part done. So Frieza, let's talk about that one. What's the next thing that Vegeks can deal with?
Well, this is a matchup that people say is super close or in Green Frieza's favor due to the Frieza Army healing pod that they've put inside the deck to give you a lot of additional draw power besides the Zarbon and Ginyu promos. Um, because all those cards made the deck pretty ridiculous. But the thing is that like Vegeks Boo doesn't really mind if it doesn't have a hand, because if they have the one drop Bobbity that could summon the Boo from their graveyard, they could go into the chain and still be aggressive. They could also play any of the Vegeks list can play Fu, Mission Accomplished, or the Goku Saiyan Instincts Draw to Ape. So like the thing about this matchup is like you just you know that their deck is slower and you know your deck is just faster. So you just try not to just overkill and just kill them early. Just play at your pace, I feel like. Because admittedly this is one of the matchups I haven't played really all that much, but it just seems like the other matchup, like if they're gonna take away your hand resources and stuff like that, and but the thing is with Vegeks, his drop area is like another hand. So it's like he could look at his drop and see what he has and use it to his disposal. You know, I firmly believed that before the promos, Vegeks won the matchup. I'll have to test that out after with the promos, but I don't know. It doesn't seem quick enough. I mean, but I just have to see it in action, I guess.
I think for me is like I like the Frieza deck. I know besides besides the restriction where you can't play Saiyans, I mean it's still a really good deck. It's good to hear that people are playing it around, including Sandy again. I would say that the one thing I would have a little hard time with the deck sometimes you have to learn is energy, because I'm so used to seeing blue being the only deck with energy on and with all this restrictions to just playing just green, or you need all the energy you need to play the deck. It gets a little complicated for me, depending how it is. I know it's a little bit mostly me. I know most players don't, but I feel like sometimes they do, because they have to test it out, they have to work in so that they get the kinks out and does everything. Now, when the Frieza Pod it came out, and it was like, oh, it's making a big combat. When we first saw this card came out, I thought this card might be a little effective, but its second effect required too much energy. At the time, people were like, that's too much, tune 4, tune 5, I'm not doing that, that's not wasting my time. That the card didn't do much value. Now, all of a sudden, about a week ago, it went up to $5, and I ended up buying the cards, at least 3, as much as I can afford. And I'm still waiting for them to come in the mail, but they're like $6 going up. So this card is already going up in price thanks to Frieza and Set 10. Set 10 has, like we said before, has done everything to bring these old lane cards into value and just bringing making the combat. And the thing is, it's good because this is a card that needed to work because it had no deck to resolve with it, especially when the time when after Clash of Fates, Broly from the Set 6 set actually came out, and it was not going to be useful at all. But now with this card, it's really good. You already get to draw, and you get to have a chance to bring back cards from your drop area to your hand or to the field, however you can. And it's really good. Really a main 4, of course. 3 just in case 4 doesn't work out, and that's okay. And if anything, you can always still maybe get rid of it with a Vegeta card that blows up field spell. But in any case, I just don't think it's that effective to be hit with. But it's really good now that people are going to main it in the Frieza decks. It's really excellent. But like I said, with the whole cost of energies, you have to probably use that second effect for like at a desperate time, or if you're gonna go for game, which pretty much it does, just in case you want to make the game turn out. For me, I think the best thing for Frieza is to actually think this through how the deck resolves, because it's sort of hand destruction. I think you should just take your time and just kill your opponent's field and kill your opponent's hand. Now, let me take an example. Do you remember when me and Noel had a battle and he played Pan and I was playing Golden Frieza? This is before he beat the Golden Frieza deck undefeated streak. when he fought the deck, this was the second time I fought that deck, but only the first time playing with the real life deck, and we were at PPG. And if you notice that I didn't attack his life because in my head, I didn't want him to get more cards so he can attack me and do some crazy stuff the next turn. But for him, he thinks I did it on purpose, and he said he wanted to punch me because, one, that's Noel, and number two, that's something he didn't like. I didn't do that strategy. And for me, I completely forgot because I haven't done play the game in a while, but except online. But I thought this as a strategy because it not only hurt Noel, who was an aggro player, but it hurt him because he couldn't do anything for the turn. He was getting frustrated. If this was an actual tournament, he had to accept that as a loss or just say, I scooped because this is bullcrap and I'm not going to deal with this. But perhaps that's the strategy that this is what Green Frieza does. It's slow and steady wins the race. You hurt your opponent's field, then you hurt their life. And especially with the game where you're taking so much cards from your life, they're already doing the job for you, and all you gotta do is hurt the hand little by little. So that way, the less cards they have, the better you have the chance to win. And like you said with Vegeks, that's a tough call because the graveyard is their second hand. So they don't give a damn about what happens to their hand as long as they have a drop area. That's actually a tough call, so I don't think Frieza will ever have a chance to beat Vegeks, even if they try to side deck everything. Even if Vegeks tries to find a way solution to stop it, it doesn't matter. I don't even think Frieza is the type of deck against Vegeks that needs a side deck, since all they can do is just annihilate them with their drop area, and that's it.
I mean, Frieza would just play slow and just have Master Roshi looping the new dormant potential Nimbus to stall, and then just, give the Unison crit, swing crit, Dodoria loop, just play very slow, very passive, gain advantage over time, and that's really like the game, the game the deck wants to play. I thought it was gonna be like a one-drop dot deck. It's kind of looking that way, oddly enough. But yeah, I don't see why you don't want to give Vegeks advantage. You don't want to do that. That's not in your best interest. Once you give Vegeks gas and they can throttle you for it, you're gonna lose the game.
Exactly. So we got those decks out. I think that's pretty much what we can think about with Vegeks so far, since we don't see much meta for now until set 10, correct?
Well, Gamers happens next month in July, and we'll see. They're saying that the event's gonna go through, and so it'll be set 10 will be legal as well. It'll be our first chance to see with all these decks. Speaking of like sideboard cards, what I've been actually liking the Toa counterplay card. That you draw a card and you pick a card in their dropper and shuffle it back to the deck. What do you think about that as a sideboard card?
This Toa, is this the promo one or the one from the super rare one?
The SR from the set.
Oh yeah, that card is pretty good for Vegeks. That card was really good to read, it's like one of the best to see so far, other than Mekikabura. And of course, I think most of those black super rare cards were probably mostly side decks than main for the Vegeks.
Yeah.
So they're very much more support to the deck itself, since all you need is the structure deck, you just need the cards and some of the promos, and then the rest are just side decks apart, or just old cards you can get from older sets and however you play. It's a really good thing, and I'm kind of thinking, I've also thought about it, because I was looking at my old binders, and remember that from the original expansion pack that had with the GOAT, when you had, one set was the Overwhelm stuff, the other one was the Fusion stuff. I was thinking to myself, whatever happened to Trunks? I'm surprised nobody wants to use this card. Of course, yeah, we got Supreme Kai, but, remember Trunks? And that's also, a Trunks Zeno.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, wait, why not just play this card? You get to look at the top two cards, you go ahead and you just choose one, and you get to take the other card and put it in the bottom of your deck, and then the other one you add it to your hand or whatever, or the top of your deck, how it goes. And it's also a Trunks Zeno, so that way you can go ahead and fusion. I mean, remember, didn't we have a Vegeks card that can fuse in the drop area or something, or is that just?
The championship promo card can, if they're on the field, you pay 2. And if you mill it and they have 3 or more energy, it's summoned for free. I believe the rare also Union Patoras but that's for 3. It isn't as good, and then you can play the 7 drop on both of those cards.
Okay, but what are your thoughts on that with the Trunks Zeno from expansion pack, or 1 or 2?
Oh, the Time Patrol Trunks?
Yes, it is.
Like in an overall version, I could see it. You know what's another? You're mentioning that, and we're talking about set 3. You know, Kilosaur Trunks is really cool too, because like if you're playing, if you get the Trunks blocker, or you play a Time Patrol, you can pay for Kilosaur Trunks, evolve on top, and then get a dude from your drop area and play it. So like, that's another cool interaction I haven't seen people actually messing around with.
I don't know why, because like if you've been in the game for a long time, we've seen so many. There's more Trunks Zeno cards than there are Vegeta Zenos, and they've been really good lately. I know like only a couple have been bad, but because they're mostly commons or whatever, and their effects are kind of meh. But these cards were like the best, especially the Trunks Zeno from like from the Mass Saiyan start from the starter deck. You know, and that card was really good to sometimes main.
Oh yeah, he just loops himself. Comes back, and he's free. So like he's another interesting card.
Do you think that?
We're talking about.
I was gonna say, do you think that card will ever come to that deck? Maybe to help it itself.
Maybe like an overwhelmed version. Like let's say they're never like this is a conversation we'll get into, but like I don't think that they're ever gonna like Irada or like ban the leader. So let's say like the hit tag team Gohan or the U3 guys. Like I could see a overwhelmed variant using that card, yeah. But since we're talking about Vegeks and people, there's an outcry. You know, I'm gonna go through every single color, and you know, and give the cards that I think are really good against, you know, like that you should probably be looking towards to play. Like if you're playing blue, the Sensu Bean, the Trunks that acts like a Nimbus from the Champ Pack. If you're playing red, is that all you got? Red Topo, the Shenron Unison, the Yamcha Counterplay. If you're playing green, it's Dormant, Unleashed Potential. That's just amazing. That card's just amazing. And then you have Roshi to keep looping it over and over again. Yellow has Nimbus, even though you could get push 5 damage Drew with Sandy's list. It's really good. You also have the Vegeta Unison. You can pay 1 marker and they can't attack with cards higher than their energy cost. So they have that. Am I missing one of the colors?
You did. You did blue. You did green. You did red, yellow. What about black?
Okay. Oh yeah, black, and then Protector of the People. Yes, I know it's a bit of an expensive card, but that is also a card you could side in, and it could be pretty good because you get 5k for every swing. So, like these are all kind of cards that Oh, and the Cooler Arrival as well. I almost forgot to mention that. These are all cards that like I'm expecting people to start siding, playing. Dark Power Black Basane as well, like I had said earlier. And you know, like we need to try to find answers more so than anything, you know.
Oh yeah, of course, you know.
But I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Like, do you think that Reboot Soul Striker will be the dominant blue leader in the meta? If we're talking about all these different kinds of decks that we decide for.
Honestly, it's really hard because it's not like it used to be. This one is like more restricted to the whole unison plays and stuff. To be honest with you, I don't think it will. It might, it could change my mind. It could like be like different. I could be wrong, but an honest point, I don't think so. Because in comparison to
so you would like SS3 or Vegeta or Zamasu better at that point?
Well, like SS3, of course, it's never gonna come. Zamas is probably much the better blue leader. And what was the other one?
Yeah, I mean, Vegeta starter deck.
Vegeta starter deck already looks promising as it is, and I know a lot of people are playing that before Zamas comes out anyway, or Trunks with all the new Trunks support that it got. Since we were like talking about that promo stuff that was so good to read. So either way, before Trunks and Zamasu would come out, I know Vegeta would be a good main right now to this meta so far a little bit, and people are just trying to play around what they can do with certain cards and stuff. And then they're also trying to get by without the whole 7-drop Gogeta, you know, since that card got banned and whatever. But but in honest point, I just think Soul Striker is kind of meh. It's not gonna be relevant in the game. I don't think it's gonna do much for so far. Like I said, if you could prove me wrong, I really don't care. It's fine to be proved wrong. I mean, like Gito did, he proved me wrong about the Green Goku, and I laughed that shit in his face. And next week, it's already becoming like the second best deck in the game right now. So in the meantime, though, it's mostly just anti-meta. That's what I'm gonna say. But either way,
yeah, I think we were entering like a meta like that. Like if you're not playing Vegeks, you're playing either counter or whatever you like. I think.
Or or hand destruction. However the hell you guys went, doesn't matter. But yeah, that's pretty much how you can see the effect of blue until set 10 cards are released to the whole world by their hands, not by virtual. Because, like I said, I don't like to count virtual, even if PBG says it's legal. Unless the cards are out, don't call it legal, guys. It's not really legal unless the cards are like right into the palm of your hands and you're allowed to collect and you go ahead and play that in tournaments. It's not legal to me. Just saying.
Well, yeah, it's a different format because like not everybody's gonna have all the cards in real life. So.
Exactly, that's the hard part, especially with all the buyouts and everything. So, good luck with that, guys, because you can live in your virtual world, but it's like this: if you can have a virtual girlfriend, you can have a virtual family, you can have all of that. But in reality, if you don't have any of that, that's not real accomplishments. That's just false hope. So that's pretty much all you can say with blue. If honestly, if I have to say, I'm gonna go say perhaps maybe I'm gonna switch it around. If blue can be dominated, that'd be great. If not, it's gonna be black and then green and then blue and then red and then yellow. So it could change that list I used to have weeks ago into this, because I know yellow is by far the weakest. Sadly, I have to say it. Yellow is by far the weakest now, and red is like second worst, but red is not bad. And if you guys notice a lot in the TCGplayer.com, you can go ahead and check out that the Sin Shenron Unison is by far now the most expensive card in the set. It is by far the best card in Unison at this point, but not by the color, because I know there are better cards, but right now it's already been by far the best Unison that Red's going to be playing, or you seeing it anywhere for other decks that are going to use it. It's really effective. It's already going up in price. So I hope you get your hands on that, because sooner or later that card might go above overpriced depending on how the game goes. And of course, with the red secret rare coming out, we'll have to wait and see, because it might be a huge game changer to the game. Because we might see red maybe hitting it up, making blue from number 3 to maybe number 4. So let's see how red goes there in that point.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I don't know what to say.
Alright, so if we're done, I give a lot of people like the most generic side deck cards for their deck and stuff like that. So we don't exactly know what we were talking about, the perceived meta, so we don't know if that's how it's going to play out. So give the most generic cards, for each of the colors, and we'll see what happens there.
And it's however you guys point. If you have great ideas, then by all means just show it up. But don't show it up like in the internet, guys. You don't want to reveal it in the internet. Why don't you show it to us in a tournament and see how effective that works? Because that's how we do. We try them out, and if it works that way, keep it there. If it doesn't, take it out, put something else. That's what side decks work. That's how it always works in most card games, and that's pretty effective. It does for most players,
Exactly. But now we've reached a point in time of our basically topic. Secret rares were nice, and gotta love Gogeta secret rare that we're all waiting for. But now we've reached today's topic. The Vegeks problem and how to deal with it. And it's surprising to me seeing how many people hate this deck. And I had a buddy, he was playing on Untapped, and he played 22 online matches that day. Do you want to guess how many of them were Vegeks, Kevin?
How many?
18 of 22, apparently.
That doesn't surprise me, because I've seen so many meta decks do that a lot, but I'll let you go ahead and explain the reason why this is pretty much getting overhand by this entire structured deck that is not even fully complete, and how when it is complete, the game is going to change.
Well, I mean, it's surprising because I haven't even seen that much on Untap, but it's like, and for the most part, whenever I see Vegeks, I see Sandy's list. I really don't. I see mid-range Vegeks maybe once, twice, but I always see Sandy's list. You know, and it's interesting. A lot. I guess people are testing it, seeing how it works, to see if they'll like it. And there's been discussion in the Facebook group talking about, like, is Vegeks tier 0? Do we need to ban errata? Well, see, this is a unique and interesting thing, because he's a starter deck. Like, we can't just ban an errata a starter deck leader. They didn't even do that with Shenron, because if we ban or errata a starter deck leader, then we're setting a bad precedent for later leaders that come in starter decks, because then they're not safe. Like, they're just gonna get banned. And this starter deck's supposed to get support the whole year. Like, imagine if a new player goes and buys a starter deck, and then like, oh look, you really like this, and like, yeah, it's awesome, but I'm sorry to tell you, it's banned, or it's not, or it's errata. It's not what it says there. Like, well, like, I don't think that's the right call. I'm gonna go into further detail, but what do you think about that so far, Kevin?
I agree with you on that one. It's just, why would people just want to get this card already hit and banned when it's just released? I mean, come on, people, that's just ridiculous. I mean, just seeing this card already getting hit, you gotta wait a while until the game goes, and even if so, why do you want to do that? I mean, I have seen some structure decks in other card games that do have the hits and stuff. Like, let's take for another example, Monarchs. See, that was a deck that people were having a lot of issues dealing with, and that deck was by far one of the most destructive anti-meta decks in the history of the game, that did a lot of turns, and all it did not require was an extra deck and preventing you to ever play the extra deck, nor can you ever play any pendulums or anything at the time when it came out during the pendulum arc.
Yeah.
It was very devastating. They did ban like one of the cards, no, not ban, I think limited one of the cards being Pantheism, which was just a broken spell card, and it's still limited to this game. And it was just a destruction deck. I couldn't do anything. Yet, even though I hated the deck, yet I wouldn't be the kind of guy to actually buy the structure decks, build the deck like the way that Toman did, because Toman was the one who always made that deck, and he did that deck pretty well. Good job, man. He saved all his Monarchs from all the older sets and then put them together with the newer deck, and just decimating and dominating everything. Like, even later on, like, guys like Ernesto and Stevie would play against the deck or even own the deck, and they would either say, I don't like this deck, or I like this deck, I just wish I had something more. And see, Vegeks, for that part matter, is like, the more of its destruction it is just by being itself, the more people will either complain about how effective it is to the game, or how I want this card to get more support, even though it's so stupid enough as it is. We already come to the point that we've already banned Turles, and we should be thankful about that, because if we didn't
imagine Turles with this deck,
just imagine that, and you're already going to be complaining about the leader's garbage stuff that I want to go against. The deck is absolutely insane, and Turles is still at 4. Now that's just only at 4. Like, at 1, it would have been different. It may be a bit different, but it's still effective. And it's not going to stop Vegeks for that. And even with or without Gohan, you could still probably be annoying to anyway, because we have seen, like you said before, like, we've probably seen, like, if U3 ever got banned, which is not going to happen unless they errata it, which is the only option they probably might do.
I mean,
but
they've already been errata. It'd be another errata on top of another one.
But it's never going to happen, because once they're errata, that's it. There's no more changing, and even so, it won't be enough. They've already did everything they can with the deck. So right now, they're going to have to deal with this game, and they're going to have to come up with their own side decks to stop the cards. Give us other examples like what we just said earlier, that the whole side deck idea between them is effective, and how effective Vegeks can do against even itself in a mirror match can be super effective to the whole the standard of the game, And I just think that everything that people have done to has to understand, this is what a meta is, guys. This is what tier 0 will do. This is what everything in every game you play is going to be. You're going to find a deck that's going to be super good to you if you're a meta player, and you're going to see it as busted, and then come up with ideas, and then copy other ideas that players do around the world or on YouTube or whatever, And then you're gonna have players complain and bitch and moan about it. They want these cards banned because they don't want to deal with destructive, so that they have other decks to deal with, and even that deck could become meta and complain. And that's gonna be the same thing over and over. But we're gonna have to let it slide because honestly, to me, I could complain like everyone else, only if I have played. But even if I do, I'm not in tournaments, and I'll stay neutral to the whole thing because Vegeks is the thing that's going to happen, and we're going to deal with it. Blocks is going to still be dominating, and then when every card comes out in set 10, it's going to be more decimating, including with all the promos and everything, and the championship packs. And when set 11 comes out, we have to see is if it's still more Xeno support for Xeno, that would be very productive for the whole Trunks Vegeta Xenos, or the whole Xenoverse world that thing that they're gonna do, or what's gonna be next. I'm not sure because I don't want to just get predictions and everything, and then people have to see what's gonna happen because they have to be worried about it. Let's just go with the flow, see what happens, and if you're not fun with it, then don't play the deck, or just take a break from the game until the set comes out, or just maybe give the deck a try. You don't have to spend $1 million on it or anything. Just let's see how it goes, but complaining about it every time is not going to make the deck stop. Because remember, we complained about Gogeta, and look how long that took to get that card banned. So have fun with.
Look how long it took Storm to get finally banned. The Bardock, the Goten, the Flute. That took a long time.
Sugash himself too. Look how those cards, they took a long time. I mean, the only thing that gets fast is an errata, and that's as close as you can get. And that's not going to be enough.
But like I was saying, it sets a bad precedent if we errata a starter deck leader. Because Shenron was busted, but he never got errata. All the cards around him got banned. And I think that's what's going to happen here. They could hit and ban Tag Team Gohan. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. It's a drop box card. It's hard to get card, adds additional pressure. It's doing that what it was intended. They could hit all the U3 guys, Pepperoni, Nigrishi, Viara, and Eliza. Even though that Eliza's really not really seen of the four. I mean, Pepperoni's not really that seen too much either, but but there are some builds that do run him. But it's kind of they if most people want Nigrishi, Viera banned, and then or all of them banned, and then go on. So those are that's the most suitable hits. I don't want the leader routed to anything. I don't want to be limited in what I can play in the deck, because that's what makes the deck creative and unique and fun. Because at that point, we're picking and choosing the limitations that these leaders could have. So for example, the Frieza, he was kind of true to the show, but what if he was super broken and it's oh, we gotta errata him, but wait, he already was kind of already down by having a he can't play Saiyans. So well, we're gonna make him worse. I understand the deck is absurd. I'm not saying it's not absurd. I understand the deck is I don't know if it's tier 0, but I know it's very close. We haven't even had an official tournament yet with an event. We're gonna have one at Gamers, and this looks like it's gonna happen. So that'll be the first event. I will have actual data with people there playing the deck or trying to play against it. Set 10 isn't even legal, so right now you can't use the Overwhelm Trunks to Reinforcement Vegeta to Splintering Mind. So that version of the deck isn't legal till set 10 drops. So you're playing a Kidku version, or maybe you're playing, if not so many people know about Vegeks Boot, but there are some people out there that do. I think that deck has a lot of potential, but it just limits the deck building process, if you will. If they're gonna ban Tag Team Gohan, I'm fine with that. If they were gonna ban the U3 guys, I'm fine with that. But we're at a point where just if I mean, people really hate aggro in this game. Let's just be real. People would prefer if control was the most dominant thing, or if mid range was the best thing. They hate aggro. Some people wish they could delete it, and it's interesting because this game plays fast and it plays with tempo. So like that's why you see all these aggro decks breaking the way that the game plays sometimes. But you know, like Lightsworns were very big in Yu-Gi-Oh when they came out, and it was very expensive. Cue the Vegeks comparisons, but like people have to realize we're gonna. This is just the first evolution of decks. Like we're gonna get another deck that's gonna do something crazier than this, and it's just gonna progress like that. So I mean, I'd be fine. I just don't want to see an errata to it, especially since like we just barely have had locals, because we're still under COVID. So like I want to see an actual tournament, and I want to see the results. Like if it was like, let's say we have like a top 16 and 14 of 16 are Vegeks, then I could be like, okay, but until then, we just have to wait and see what's gonna happen.
You mentioned earlier about gamers actually having the tournament. Do you know what date is going to be taking place so that every person can go ahead and check them out?
I will look that up right now.
Okay. And another question, would this gamers be actually a live stream similar to like what PPG does? Like would they give it players to see so that people can see like, oh, we get to see card games back again for the first time in months?
I mean, they've streamed before.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna stream this one.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough then.
Let me see here. I'm trying to find the date of this. It is July 18th to the 19th. They're doing 2 case tournaments that are free entry.
Okay, so so by the day after the release of the set, it will have its official tournament. All right, that's perfect.
Yes, so we'll see if Vegeks is broken, whatever. We're gonna have, instead of like people just like theorizing, because I really feel there's people out there not play testing the set, just like seeing Vegeks, seeing how dumb strong it can be, the potential of it. They're like, oh no, we gotta hit it, So like we'll see in a proper tournament setting. And let me say something. There are people that buy these black cards because they want to play these decks, because they thought it was cool, whatever. Like they're spending money too, so you're alienating people that bought product just like you did, just because you don't like the deck, and that isn't the greatest thing either. That will turn off somebody to a game too.
That's actually
like not everybody likes control, not everybody likes aggro, not everybody likes mid range, but we have to allow all these types of decks to exist.
That's actually a very good point, because that's actually very agreeable. The fact that people have done this before, and like it's not only you're not wasting your own money, but you're also like making the people who want to spend the money on the deck they've been wanting to make, and they're not eligible to get even any of these cards, and that's like a real fu to the face. It's like it's really insulting, and especially that when the worst part is if you don't like the deck and you sell it to a store. The store will just go ahead and sell it to like even higher price than they purchased it, and how much you wanted to get before, so that they can go ahead and screw around, depending on which game store has the just has the tenacity to just do that, because they don't really care. As long as they get money for it in their pockets, they don't really give a damn, and that really is that's really a huge insult to the player base and the card game itself.
I mean, like people have to defend their life early. They have to know when to combo. Like Unison really changes our game, and I really feel that Unison has made like really good players amazing, and then players that were just okay, maybe they're a little worse now. Like you just like, I don't know, I see like when I read, I could tell the people that have play tested the set versus people that are theorizing, and there's not enough people actually play testing and seeing like, hey look, is this good, is this bad? Because I was going to bring up another structured deck, Dinosaurs. They won Worlds and they got hit, and the deck was never even meta in the US. So it won, and I mean it did win an event, but it was a Worlds event, and then Miscellaneous went down to 1. But that mistake was corrected not that long ago, and it's back to 3, and the deck was a very popular rogue deck, and it's come back with full force, and they gave it more support, and That, and it's like, and it's very similar because like that deck it wants to go second, wants to OTK. Like it sounds very familiar, right? But
Correct.
like, and any deck in a hand of a good player becomes a great deck. There's a lot of people that just net deck, just complain. It's hard because people don't want to brew themselves. And then maybe they get a list that they see on YouTube or whatever, and that they like, and then, hey, look, I can modify it to what I like. A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players do that, but it's not enough people are starting to make ideas by themselves. Like I had referenced earlier, Noel, he won. Like he took a loss, but he went undefeated at his local, and he didn't even have tag team go on. His deck value on DBS decks is $99, and most of these decks he was going against were $300, $400, $500 decks that he did very well in.
Yep.
We were working on the build together, and I got inspiration from something I saw, but we were pretty close to that anyway, so it wasn't like it wasn't like something we didn't know, but it helped us, make the deck, and then we gave it our flavor, and he was able to play VR without Tag Team Gohan, and it's things like that, and we need people to be creative in our game. We need people to deck build. We need people to explore the amount of cards we have in Dragon Ball, because it's a very big card pool. I mean, there's no point in having a card pool if a lot of your player base is like, oh look, this is like the best deck. Let me just copy paste, change one card. Here you go. There's my deck. You get me?
Yeah, I was gonna say like how you two work together is like, did you guys actually did believe in the heart of the cards?
Yeah, because like because we knew about the other engine of this deck that I won't mention here. But I will say on the Boo chain, we liked the what is it, Bivity 1-drop at 4, the 2-drop at 4, and etc. Like, and it was just like, but we just needed that extra. Like, we were just like, well, where else do we go from here? And we just didn't want to make it like a Boo deck. And so I was looking on Facebook and I saw a Vegeta group, and somebody had posted something. It's like, oh, well, try this. And I had seen the other engine he incorporated, which I already knew about. And it was just like, oh wow, but his list had Tag Team Gohans. And Noel doesn't have that card. So we went back, we changed the list. We made a substitution, added some East Kai Double Strike cards to the deck, and it became his deck. And he knew how to play it, and he did very well. And it was for $99 within his budget. He didn't have to go net deck Sandy's build, which is an absurd amount of money, and he didn't have to play mid-range Vegeks, even though he has a lot of those cards. He just doesn't have Tag Team Gohan again. So I mean, like, the problem, yes, I get that this deck is absurd. I get that it plays a crap ton of things for free. It gets easy advantage. I get all of that. But the moment you swing and you try to pressure the leader when you're not supposed to, really can't. You give the deck so much gas that that deck, it's hard for it to lose. But again, that goes back to playtesting, theorizing. It goes to all these things that I see a lot of people just wanting, like, wow, like this deck is just like broken, and like that's another thing. Like, we just can't see something is absurdly broken when we don't have data. It hasn't been in a tournament. It looks really good online. Now it's got to perform in person to prove that it was this juggernaut that it proved to be online.
That's a great info. I kind of agree with you on that one, and I understand what you mean, because I did remember in my example back in the day, I did create this deck at a budget and have an idea that just came out with 2 decks I liked, and that was Genix and Machinas. So in the deck I called Machina Genix, and I only had a few Genix cards, which were the tuners, and some Synchro cards. This deck was just something I created. I didn't know what side deck was at the time, so I just played a tournament without it. And for the first time in my life, I actually made top 8. And this was a deck that even when Toma was in this tournament, this was when Avalon, this is before Rock. So, which Avalon was the place where I met Toma for the first time in the day. So, in this tournament, I went to go ahead with some friends. So one of the decks, this is how it goes. I won my first 3 rounds with the deck for the first time in its tournament and did excellent. So first game was against Scraps, second game was a mirror match, the third game was against Toma and his Gravekeepers, and me and him went toe to toe because it was like past versus future. Me and him were like bitter rivals in that game because of his great love for Gravekeepers and my love for the Janix support and stuff. And when we went toe to toe, we went so well. But he did make it to the top 8 as well, and I did face him in top 8 and lost. But I was like tired out. And the other 2 games I fought was Malefic Gravekeepers and this Chaos. But other than that, it didn't matter. Either way, so the deck itself surprisingly made its effort because of all the creativity and build I did. I later did a deck profile as one of my first deck profiles ever in the channel. And it showed a lot of tenacity, although the deck was like outdated mostly because it took me a while for like a year to upload and whatever because it was a deck from a year ago. But either way, it didn't matter because the whole point I want to say is the idea is that it's the creativity and the response you give and trying out these decks to play test and see how well it does. Even on online, it tested pretty well. Like if you're not willing to give it a testing, then you're not doing well of a good job. You gotta understand how well these testings do for more players, especially with decks like Vegeks. Because you see, meta decks is not a deck you can't just copy from someone else's deck profile or anything. You have to try the deck itself standardly and then see the creativity or the response that you think the deck needed more to go and understand so that you play this in tournaments and probably might see if it has more potential than you think. And the way you push that potential is that to see the deck, you have to understand the deck, like we say, heart of the cards. Because you have to hear the response of what the cards can tell you. It might give you ideas that you might respond. I know it sounds a little corny, guys, but just bear with me. You have to understand how these decks work. That's how people make these crazy idea decks. And when they make those decks into a reality, it goes to show how effective it works with both the mind and body that soul that you're putting into this entire 60, 50, 40 card, whatever game you're playing, however it is, it resolves well. This is how card games get so beyond and why, oh my god, this card is so expensive for this certain reason. Oh, this card is so effective because the person who made that deck and top with that deck shows how effective it is by how they saw it and how productive it can be for like the game itself, including the meta. So it could show you how much, and people have never seen it until it comes out of nowhere. And it's best do keep it yourself unless you want to tell your own friends to say, hey, I got this idea, this might work out. Some might believe you, some might not. And when they play test against you, they might think, well, we were proven wrong, and that's actually a pretty good idea. And then when you try it in small tournaments, it's not bad. But then when you try it out in the big leagues, it's a different story. It can change the game for you, for them, for everybody. It just shows how much effective every card in every game can be so valuable in its own way without anybody noticing unless you put the heart to it. That's all I gotta say about how effective it can be, especially with Vegeks. But even though it's a meta deck, it's a deck that it can be so productive that you never see him coming. Even Gohan, even with or without Gohan, you'll still find a way to make the deck even more busted than you can imagine if you know what you're doing.
It's funny you mentioned Gohan. He's one of the few decks that could crack back the Vegeks deck and win. There's so little decks out there that can actually win on the crackback, But you just have to know when and where to get the kill, because the deck has Bibbidi Super Combo. You just can't play a normal game. You have to know the turn you're killing them, and you have to kill them. You just can't go from like. It just can't be like 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever. It's gotta be like, if there's 7 to like 4 to like 1 to 0 or whatever it is, you have to kill them that turn. Or you just hit them with crits and you just play super slow. Like those are the only 2 ways that I see. Like, you just have to have your game plan and you gotta execute it. Like I said, if they're gonna ban cards, like if they ban Tag Team Gohan, I'm okay with this. If they ban the U3 engine, I'm okay with that, because we as a player base are gonna find ways to put new cards in all those slots, and let's see how we can make this deck still be viable, still be great. You know, um, the deck is very very good. It's different than Storm. It does have it does bring a lot of guys and a lot of swings, a lot of free 15Ks. But like let's see, let's try to if it gets hit, let's try to make it last as long as Storm did, for those people that play the but that play the deck. It's I strongly feel passionate that we can't hit a starter deck leader, we can't errata a leader just because you don't like something, because I don't want to go in um and as a like, let's say if I was a new player, I'm gonna go buy a starter deck, and I buy the Vegeks starter deck, and I'm playing with it. It's awesome, and then like, oh look, it's got an errata. Like, what do you mean errata? Like, there are some people that just don't look at the website, that they just want pickup games or very casual, and that presents a problem. Just for the more competitive diehards of this game, and it's just like, oh, well, yeah, it's for the health of the game, but like at the same time, like these things are made for new players, so it's kind of like a catch-22, you know.
Okay. Well, that's pretty effective of how much we've been talking about the whole idea with Vegeks and every other player base in the world. I think that's been a really good discussion right here, haven't we?
Yeah, it's like I've been playing the deck, basically since he was revealed and stuff like that, and we just gotta find ways to deal with it, and not just, hey, look, there's a problem, let's just ban it, and and move on, because the set's not even out yet, we haven't even had a tournament, and it's just like, wow. Because then the next broken quote unquote deck will come out, and that will get hit. I mean, people were like, when Gohan was revealed, oh, this is broken. This is like, it's gonna, like, he needs to get banned. And while Gohan, he did win the only regional, I believe, of that season. Because I know that Invoker won the Tournament of Power, which was like a non-Bandai event, and Boo won an Australian event. But like, Gohan won the only regional of that season, and it was early on. But that deck wasn't broken. Like, it was a very good deck. It just wasn't broken because people learned how to play around it, and that's what we need to do with Vegeks, however you want to say it. We need to perform, to play test, and to meta game against the deck, and not cry and whine and eliminate a deck before it's had its chance to shine.
Exactly. That's very good. Okay. Will there be anything else in discussion for today's episode?
I mean, that was going to be a large part of our episode today. Was like, I've seen like the outcries and everything against that deck. They did show the judge promos and today as well, and
Well, don't remind me. Okay, so here's I'll put this in here. So obviously I didn't show those because they're mostly just cards that just reprinted as the same cards from the championship pack promos and stuff, and I just didn't really care about that because you guys can always check it out and everything. It's nothing I'm just trying to be rich. I just think that's just a waste because I don't want to just waste my time talking about, since we've already did a discussion about it. And there's just alternate form of art, which it looks okay, looks a lot more clear, but still, I just don't really care. And mostly the secret rares was something I didn't know until I was on break today from work, when Gio sent me the message, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And when I read the cards, I was
you must have gotten hyped.
Yeah, because I was rushing late to go to work and stuff, because I was running a little late, and then all this card revealed, and I was like, oh my god, this is happening. So that's pretty good and stuff. Yeah, so I guess that we'll call it a day for tonight's episode. So here we already discussed about everything. So next week's topic will probably be something new, obviously, besides the red secret rare. We're hoping maybe we'll get maybe one of the guys come back. If not, the two-man power trip can still work on it. We'll continue this podcast for possibly maybe a little while until maybe when the set is released. I'm thinking about however we may continue, guys. If you guys would still see this season continue on, that's fine. If not, we could take a season finale break and everything. I know this is out of the blue and everything, but you know, it's a good idea to take a break and then see how far we can do, and then maybe a discussion might come up in the future after when set 10 is released. But until then, we'll still keep staying on the review. Before we go, I do want to go ahead and give my full answer about when you asked me the question, what do you think will be the next top decks of the game? Now, so we did discuss that it was going to be Green Goku and all that stuff, but let's give my list, because my list was just out of hand since I was actually uncontrollable to where the situation was going to be where I had to explain mine. So I did thought this through, and I thought before we leave this episode, let's go ahead and get my final discussion, the final top 5 that I think I will be in. So we'll see it when the set is released. Okay, so obviously, so it will go 1, 2, 3, or 5 since we already know what number 1 is. So it will go Vegeks, Gohan, Invoker, Toppo, and Zamas. That's pretty much the list of I'm thinking gonna go. There is a huge change between numbers 2 to 4 because they might turn around just in case. So it doesn't matter which one's gonna be top. Either way, if they're still in the top 5 list of my list, then in accountable, that's pretty much as far as it can go. But we'll see there in the future. Although with Goku already taking over in number 2 in the spot, and Frieza right now, we'll just wait and see. But that's only just in the online. We have to wait patiently until the cards are officially released and gamers do their whole channel and they do the whole major tournaments when all the cards are finally out. Then, you know, let's see how that goes, and then let's see what our new top 5 best decks in the game will be resolved in another discussion video. But until then, guys, we thank you so much for watching today's episode, and it's great to have that the two-man power trip took over as much as we can. So without further ado, guys, thank you for watching. This is your boy Fortress Striker and your boy Yeovani.
Yeah, alrighty.
And we are out.